Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Another fun 2 hours of 50,000 watts of radio coming at you. We got through the week, folks. It's been a fun week, but we have a fantastic guest coming on. I love this guy. I grew up a huge basketball fan, watching the Bad Boys in Detroit. None other than Bill Laimbeer will be joining us in studio coming up in about 20 minutes or so. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you were unaware of this, he is the head coach of our Las Vegas Aces. Fantastic coach he is. He's won 3 championships. Guy knows what he's doing. Did a good job with the team last year. So we will preview it coming up. Bill Laimbeer joining us in studio. All right, repeat what you just. There you go.
I said, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. I really do. Thank you so much. And this is really exciting because the season is right around the corner, right? You got this preseason game, and then, boom, the season kicks right off. I guess the first question I want to ask you, for people that are unfamiliar with some of the picks you got, talk to me a little bit about some of the new faces that are on this team. And obviously, you've got, I shouldn't say old faces, right? Because but
we're new.
yeah, you're a new team. But talk to me about some of the picks you made and some new faces on this team. And obviously, I would make this assumption: you guys had a successful year last year. I don't think anybody expected you to be in the playoff hunt. You were. You almost got there. So congratulations on that. You've done this a long time. Talk to me about the expectations of this team and some of the new faces you got.
Well, yeah, last year was a good launch for us. You never know what's going to happen when you move a franchise, and a lot of pitfalls, but I thought we weathered it pretty well, both on and off the court. The franchise did a nice job in the back office. But overall, I think our players, we were the youngest team in the league last year, had a good, exciting time, didn't make the playoffs, but okay, I get it. You have to learn how to win. And so that's our task this year, is learn how to win. I made this a minor trade. I got a player named Sugar Rogers from New York who played for me in New York. Three-baller. We're the worst team for number of three-ballers in a game. Oh. So I need some more beefed-up possessions.
That sounds like UNLV a little bit.
I won't go down that road. But overall, but then we the number 1 pick in the draft overall, and I kind of surprised people by taking a player named Jackie Young out of Notre Dame, and she was, I thought, the best all-around basketball player by far
Tough
of anybody, and strong as an ox too, and fast, and high school player of the year, won championships in college, very unassuming. And I've given her all kinds of responsibility, and she just sucked it up right now. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how this one's going so far.
I want to talk a little bit about just the atmosphere. I had never been to a WNBA game before, and I went to a lot of games last year. And
Thank you.
Well, I was so impressed with the atmosphere, number one. The quality of play is up there, even higher than I thought. But just a great family atmosphere, and I truly think, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Mandalay Bay is the perfect spot for these games. I feel
there's no question.
Yeah.
Our product, it started off as the all the men's teams own a team, and you play in the big arenas. And the first couple of years, way back when, 23 years ago,
sure,
it worked. But then as time went along, it didn't work. So we're a very right-sized arena. It's for our games, it's 8,000 capacity, and it's perfect size. The MGM people did a great job of sprucing it up and adding a jumbotron, new seating.
It's great.
So overall, I think it's a great experience, and our players. The best thing is about the players of the show. They loved playing in the arena last year and loved this town, and so we're a very bright future.
I remember the first time I interviewed you, you were here for NBA All-Star Weekend. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that was many years ago.
I remember that zoo. Yes.
Yeah, that was a crazy weekend, right?
Yes, it was.
And you were representing the WNBA during that weekend, and you did the little skills challenge there.
Yep, I won.
I remember that. You still got some skills. That does not surprise me. But I remember I asked you way back then. I said, number one, do you think we'll ever get a WNBA team? You said yes, absolutely. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and you were right. And then I asked you about the NBA, and obviously you were right, like I said, about the WNBA. It's such a fantastic atmosphere. I'm sure you've been to the NBA Summer League here, which is unbelievable. The people so do you think it's just a matter of time before we get an NBA franchise?
Yeah, that's the age-old question, as you guys experience all the time in this town. It's 2 million, which is okay. It's not a small market, but kind of okay.
Yep.
The infrastructure of companies, of major conglomerates, is not here. The casinos, I get it, okay, but real infrastructure of business is not prevalent in this town. So that's a little bit of a detriment.
Yeah, there's not like a Google or a Facebook.
No, or just General Motors, or pick any of the above. As hockey's going to find out eventually when they get off their high of winning, it's an expensive ticket.
Sure.
And so a lot of people in this town, as I've noticed, are they're hourly employees.
Sure.
And, a lot of the employees in this town are worker bees.
Yeah.
They can't afford $150, $200 a ticket.
That's a good point.
And, that's why it makes our product so good, because our product's like $10, $20, $30.
It is very affordable. I would go, I pay those prices just to see you on the sidelines. It's great that you're here. You look at a lot of the former players in the league like yourself that you played against that went into the coaching business or maybe other businesses, so on and so forth. Nowhere near as successful as you. Now there's some that are, but you got right into it, and you were successful right away in the WNBA, where there's a lot of other guys out there that don't have that success, whether it's the WNBA or the NBA. So what separates you from those guys?
My style, who I am.
Yeah.
That's what makes coaches. Who are you? What you're about? Do the players relate to it? It's a player's game. So if you can't understand and relate to the players, they won't perform. Sure. They will, but they won't. They won't. Their heart's not in it.
Right.
So I think my style of what I do and how I do it has been successful in the women's league, and because they appreciate my honesty, they appreciate my experience of understanding how basketball should be played on a professional level, and so it works.
I know you've probably been asked this question before.
I know what's coming a billion times.
Do you plan on changing sports? No, I'm just kidding. Not even just the NBA question, right? But even
that was what I was expecting.
Of course, I knew that. But even college. Does that still go through your mind at all? Because
college is a babysitting sport.
Yeah.
You can do everything right, and a kid makes a mistake, and it reflects upon you.
Right.
Because it's your program. It's and in professional sports, they're their own people, they're their own corporations. It's their responsibility. So, and recruiting, you have to go and suck up to everybody and their moms and dads and the player and say how great you're going to be. Well, that ain't me.
Right.
I'm about performance. I'm about professional basketball players who, you tell them what to do, and you expect them. You can demand of them to perform because they are professional basketball players. They're professional athletes.
What did you learn from some your coaches in the NBA? I mean, people that you looked up to in college and the NBA. What do you take away from some of those coaches that you use right now?
I took away from college. It's a dictator. You have no say. They right or wrong. The coach is always the one who makes all the decisions, and the players are nothing. In professional basketball, the players are the show. When I was playing, the players are the game, but the coaches still had a large say in it. And we had fortunately had a good coach in Chuck Daly with the Pistons that, his great thing, they asked me, what was Chuck Daly like? And I says, well, he would have an idea and he would ask us, we would put our 2 cents in, we'd all come to a conclusion, then he would get out of the way. Back then when I was playing. So
didn't let his ego get in the way of it.
Correct, because the players play the game.
Sure.
In today's world, that's what it is now. The players play the game, the players dominate the show, the players have all the say, and the coach just has to manage all the egos and make sure they all are on the same page.
It was Jeff Van Gundy that once told me, Patrick Ewing, his relationship with Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing didn't always respect him, but Patrick Ewing always respected the coaching position. That's kind of the key, isn't it?
Authority figure is everything. People ask me the difference in the men and the women, and you talk to a guy and you get stern or you yell at a guy and he wants to punch you. But you're the authority figure, so we can't.
Right.
Honestly, how do you coach a LeBron James?
That's a tough question.
LeBron James is smarter than most coaches. Okay, he always has been the day he walked in the building, from a thing. But in the women's league, the women take it more seriously. They want to be coached. They want to have a understanding of how to play the game the right way. So they're very understanding. So you can yell at a woman, or I don't want to yell, because you yell at them, they get a little emotional. but they really
there's a fine line
are more passionate than the guys are about being coached.
That is really interesting. I have to ask you a little bit about some of the former players that you played with. We did a story yesterday.
Okay, Dennis Rodman.
He knew exactly. Bill's been doing this for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah. I had a story yesterday. The guy from TMZ comes on our show every week, and he said he goes into a yoga shop and he steals allegedly $3,000 worth of merchandise.
He doesn't just steal. He creates a distraction. While his accomplice steals.
I mean,
I didn't read that, so I don't know what you're talking
and he's
about.
hanging out with Kim Jong-un. You know that stuff.
Oh, that's a while ago, yes.
When you see stuff like that, do you just say to yourself, well, that's Dennis? I mean, what goes
Oh, yeah, that's Dennis. I mean, I'm sure Dennis got paid $1 million a visit, so wouldn't you do it?
I don't know. Well, I'm not Dennis Rodman, though. I'd probably be killed if I went out there, but Dennis is a legend.
If you get paid a lot of money to go over and visit him, I'm sure he got taken care of. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure he got taken care of.
I'm sure he did.
All athletes, will do things for money after they're done playing because, what else are you going to do to get money? You have no other skills.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I don't fault Dennis. He's just a big kid, and he enjoys himself, and it was a great limelight for him, So, hey, whatever. Dennis, go ahead.
Bill, you're a basketball purist, so I have to ask you this. Watching James Harden, I know you watch some of the games, right? Watching Harden dribble between his legs for 20 seconds and take these contested shots, a lot of them go in, obviously. He's an unbelievable talent. But don't you think that, in a way, that's bad for basketball? If you had a player playing the game like that, where you have, it's just an ISO situation where you got four ladies just standing around, and even if she's making a shot 30-40% of the time, do you feel like that's just bad basketball? It's bad for young people to watch that sort of thing?
Yeah, tough call. The answer is yes, but the answer is also no, because what wins? Whatever wins is all that matters in professional sports. There really is no difference between James Harden and LeBron James in many ways. It's just that they're two different style of players. LeBron James dominates the basketball at all times. And if you get into crunch time, he'll always have the ball in his hands. He'll always attack one-on-one. It's just that LeBron can power and muscle quicker, where James Harden has to do 15 dribbles to find an opening to slice through, where LeBron James will say, get down my way, here I come. So, it's still the same game. It's just two different styles of how they play the same game.
Right. And you're right. Winning matters, but you could make the argument James Harden hasn't gotten over the hump yet. He's not in the playoffs.
Well, so far, but, he's not LeBron James. He's not 6'8", 285, and runs like the wind and jumps out of the gym.
Right. That is
true. And he was never the child prodigy that LeBron James was.
Let me ask you a question, because I don't know how much time you guys have. If we
I got all the time in the world until about another 10 minutes.
I was going to ask you, if we took a break, could we maybe take a few calls? Is that okay, Bill?
Not a problem by me.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So
I'm here to be with you guys and to help sell the Aces.
That's what we want to talk about more of. But we are here with Bill Laimbeer, the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces. Preseason game at Cox Pavilion, by the way, May 19th. That's a really cool place. Cool to build a preseason game there. And I believe the season opener is May 31st, if I'm not.
May 26th.
Oh, it's 26th.
May
okay.
26th against the Los Angeles Sparks, who I cannot stand.
On the road, right?
No, we're home.
Oh, you're home. Okay,
that's our home opener. That's our first game.
That's a big one. Okay.
Come on, do your research, man. Come on.
I got the date wrong. I screwed up. Give me a technical. Anyway, Bill Laimbeer. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about officiating in the WNBA and in the NBA. We're going to take a quick break. Bill has been so gracious with his time. We're going to come back with Bill Laimbeer right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. It's not every day in studio. You have a four-time NBA All-Star. He's also the head coach of our Las Vegas Aces. And first game is a preseason game. It's going to be at Cox Pavilion on May 19th. Bill Laimbeer joining us in studio, very gracious with his time. We were just talking a little bit off the air about some of the celebrities that I've seen at some of your guys. I've seen Floyd Mayweather. I've seen
that's a given.
Mark Davis. I've seen Greg Oden. Here's something funny. I remember you just whipped the butt. I think it was Indiana. I'm not sure which. I think it was the game where you guys played Indiana. You blew them out. I think you won by like 20 or 25. And then after the game, I see a few of the Indiana players, as they're walking off the court, they just got their asses kicked, and they're asking for selfies with Floyd Mayweather.
Well, okay, yeah. He comes out of games. Mark Davis is a season ticket holder in the front row, and he's very passionate about our product. So, yeah, we're building. It's got a ways to go, but we're building.
Well, I mean, you were that close to getting into the playoffs. I mean, for you, that's
we were, but we weren't. We weren't. It's hard to describe. We were learning. And if it happened for us, great. But it was a passion or a priority. No, the passion is grow a team, understand each other, and the players understand each other, and grow together. Not only grow together, but grow with the fans. I think that's where we're at right now.
Tell me if you agree or disagree with this. I don't think you judge a coach always based on wins and losses, but are you getting the maximum out of the talent you have? And is the team getting better from start to the end of the year? When I look at what you guys did last year, where you started and where you finished, you guys were almost a different team. You had improved a lot. Not to say that you couldn't improve more, and you will this year, I'm sure. But, I mean, that's the way I look at coaching, and I just look at organizations in general. Is there improvement? Are they getting better? And over the course of your coaching career, you've been able to do that.
It takes time. I've won the file. I went from worst to first in Detroit as a coach, but it takes time. You have to learn how to win. And we had the youngest team in the league by far last year, so it was a little difficult to get them to understand the value of 2 points. And they were just like playing for playing. They didn't know any different. I think not making the playoffs was actually a bonus for us because they realize how hard they have to work and how much they have to learn. So I think this offseason, Asia Wilson's come back very patient. Last year she had no clue. Now she's come back.
You felt
very
like
patient.
maybe she didn't let the game come to her.
No, actually, it wouldn't. She didn't know how to lead. She didn't know what her responsibilities was last year. This year she's come back and she understands exactly who she is and what our team's about.
And extremely talented, and she's only going to get better. She's still very young, that's for sure. Let me open up the phone lines. Joined by Bill Laimbeer. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number to call is 257-5396. If you have a question for Bill Laimbeer, former NBA All-Star, NBA champion, WNBA champion as a head coach, and of course, he is our head coach for the Las Vegas Aces. Season getting underway. May 19th is the preseason game, and it's going to be at Cox Pavilion. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. That's kind of cool, right? That's where the UNLV Lady Rebels play, so kind of cool to have a game there.
Yeah, part of it is because we're a big convention town, and our arena's being used for a convention. I get it. It drives a lot of money.
Yep.
So, and UNLV is very happy to have us there. We practice there in our training camp. So overall, I think, it's going to work out really well.
All right, the number 257-5396. Go to Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Scott?
Coach, 2 quick questions for you. In the WNBA, what is the hardest thing to guard? Is it any different than men's basketball? Is it, dribble penetration, shooters, post players? And then I would like to know how the travel is for you. How's the travel in the WNBA?
Okay, good questions. The hardest thing to guard probably is the dominant post player. In the men's league, there is no more dominant post players. Shaq is gone. In our league, there's numerous ones. There's Brittany Griner and there's Sylvia Fowles and those and Liz Cambage. They over dominate, so you have to structure your defense around them. As far as the ladies travel, when I came into the men's league way back when, we flew coach also, ladies fly coach. We had an opportunity to fly first class. You had 6 players and maybe 7 players that were allowed to fly first class based on availability, but it was still coached. It was still regular travel and airlines, and that's what we do in the WNBA. I fly all my players economy comfort because I'm not allowed to fly in first class by CBA standards. So it works. There's not as many back-to-backs in our league. I remember in the men's league, we'd play, we'd hang out all night drinking, and then we'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, take a standard flight, and sleep all day and play the next night. So, it was one of those things.
Who was the guy who could suck back more drinks back in the day?
I don't know about that one, but it was just kind of the standard fare for that time.
Right. Scott, anything else for Bill?
No, thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. 257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396. Questions for Bill Laimbeer. Let's go to Gary. Gary, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Gary?
A lot of things and no time to talk. As far as Floyd Mayweather, he comes out and he feeds the homeless people because I was homeless over there on Owen Street, and he's out there.
He is.
Always giving people food, and everybody gets
dude.
online. And there's no nonsense.
He's a good dude.
Mayweather, to me, is a good guy.
What do you have? What question do you have for Bill Laimbeer?
Why can't you guys get it together and go to North Korea and talk to this young man? He's 30-something years old.
You mean all his former NBA players that he wants to come over? I saw that in the newspaper. I personally think that's a bunch of crap.
You think he just got paid off?
I just think that he's just being, whatever, whoever, however. You're not going to see, Dennis got a lot of flack for going over there, and he took a bunch of players over there who realized that, oops, that was a mistake. Because the media just won't allow it. They'll trash the players that they've went over there, so it's not going to happen.
You know Dennis almost better than anybody, right? And I'm sure you're asked about it a lot. Tell me if you disagree. He seems to be a guy with a pretty big heart. He seems like he does care about people. He's an emotional guy. It seems like he was a great teammate, right? Worked
all the
hard.
above. Yep.
Yeah, all that stuff. It just seems like, he has some issues. We all have different issues in life, right? He's got some issues.
What are the issues? Making money? Or, he has his moments. He's... I'm not going to trash Dennis. He's his own person.
I wouldn't trash him.
And I know he's made some mistakes,
right?
And he needs some more guidance. But overall, we'll be, hey, then I'll welcome him all the time to come and hang out.
That's good to hear. What do you make of WNBA officiating? I certainly don't want to get you in trouble, but I actually think they do a decent job. We talk about officials at all different levels, right? The college level, WNBA level, the NBA level. NBA has been taking a lot of flack lately. Any issues at all with the rules of the WNBA?
No, the rules are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
We're always a guinea pig for rule changes for the NBA over the course of time. All they're going from reset of 24 seconds to 14 seconds. We started that one. I think for WNBA referees, they do a fine job for what we have. I mean, we're not going to get NBA-type referees. We don't pay enough money. So we don't get the best of the best of the best.
Right.
But, they are very passionate about how they do business and their quality. And everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
I mean, every referee in the world makes a mistake, and so hopefully it's not a tragic one. But overall, I'm not upset with the referees in the WNBA, and I think that they're doing a great job. The NBA is doing a great job of a pipeline because they have the G League now, and the G League has expanded dramatically. So a lot of referees are there. They use us as WNBA, use the G League, try to find referees to move on into the NBA.
More frustrating at officials as a player, former player, or as a coach?
Wow, that's not a bad question. I guess probably as a coach, because you can't impact the situation. You just take whatever comes your way. So if I'm a player, I can make changes, or I can talk to the referees and in a hot moment, right, what's going on. The coach, he's got to take what comes your way. So it's probably a little more frustrating as a coach.
Ever been thrown out of a game as a coach?
All day long. I got thrown for laughing at the referee. I just started laughing, and he goes, "You can't do that," and he threw me out of the game.
Are you serious for laughing?
Yeah, because he made such a horrible call. I was laughing so hard.
Well, that's idiotic.
Well,
to throw somebody out for laughing is idiotic.
Well, I was laughing at him.
So what, though? I mean, I would think like an F-bomb, or, you say...
No, it's about showing up the referees at times, too. You can say things to them, or, when you get a technical, or you can find a way to embarrass them and get a technical. So it's all kinds of ways to get technical fouls.
What's the Aces starting five look like this year? As we sit here right this minute,
he doesn't know for sure. It's still
I do. Actually, Asia Wilson's going to start.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I thought she was your 12th off the bench.
My other All-Star, Kayla McBride's going to start.
Absolutely.
Last year Kelsey Plum started for me at the lead guard position. She's more of a two guard. My number one draft pick, Jackie Young, is really progressing very well. You don't draft number one overalls without putting them in the starting lineup. That's my philosophy. So I expect that to happen. Carolyn Swords is our center, a very stable glue player. So right now, if I had to start the season tomorrow, that would be my starting five.
257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Bill Laimbeer, the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces, and the first game is a preseason game at Cox Pavilion on May 19th. Bill, you're next on the Vegas Take. Thanks for calling in. You're on with Mr. Laimbeer. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, gentlemen. I just started listening now, so I didn't know if I was interested if Bill spoke on Chuck Daly. I was interested in what he had to say about him in those days with the Pistons.
Sure, you can add to that. Yeah, go
ahead. Chuck, when he came, Chuck was my coach in Cleveland. We were, oh my God, embarrassing. He was only there for a year and a half. I was there for a year and a half. And I was asked by Jack McCloskey, the GM of Detroit, when we made a change off of Scotty Robertson. He asked me what I thought of Chuck Daly, and I said, you have to hire him. And he goes, why? And I says, because he can relate to the players. at that time slot. And Isaiah was a very, very strong-willed person. He knew basketball, and he needed somebody who could kind of manage him, not tell him what to do, but manage him. And Chuck was I always used to say he was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, either one, that he had to manage all the players.
You hear that about Phil Jackson a little bit. I don't want to compare the two.
Yeah, well, Phil Jackson's a whiner. But Chuck did a nice job. Chuck would come to practice, and he would say, okay, I got this idea, and he'd show us a play. And we'd look at it and go, no, let's do this, and we'd work it around.
Wouldn't do anything without your input, without the players' input.
Correct. And then Chuck would say, okay, yeah, let's all do that. And the greatest thing about Chuck was he would get out of the way because the players play the game.
That's the thing. If you let your ego get involved, at whatever profession, you're probably not going to do the best job.
It's never a good idea to micromanage professional athletes.
Yeah, well, back in that time, the grinders were the key. You know, the Mike Fratellos of the world and the Van Gundys and all those guys like that. And they were the grinders, and they got the jobs because they would grind the players and push them. But players don't like that. So players don't like that today especially.
I don't want to ask a question that would completely annoy you, so let me ask it this way. What is the most annoying question that fans or people in the media ask you that you just can't stand and you dread answering on a regular basis? Because I don't want to ask it, but if you tell me, then I'm not going to ask. You're not going to get angry at me. See what I'm trying to do?
I don't even know that. Oh, actually, the question now, everybody, not so much radio and radio people or TV or when I make a speaking thing, it's always, what about Dennis Rodman?
Okay, well, we already went there.
Went through
so
that
let me ask you the second most annoying question, Bill Laimbeer.
We had decent reason to because he was just in the news.
Yes. Well, about that. But so I said this a little off the air. I said, I should have shown up wearing a Larry Bird jersey.
Yeah, that would probably be the second one.
Yeah. You would have rolled your See, I'm good at asking the worst questions, but I mean, you look at players' relationships back in the day. For example, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, right? They were the ultimate competitors, just as you were. But they're friends now, right? They talk on a regular basis.
Yeah, but back then, you got to understand, the only time they ever talked, the first time they ever talked was they did a shoe commercial for Converse.
No, I understand.
And they came out and they said, we never talked with each other before that.
But you'll like the second part of this question. Okay, Magic Johnson, he's well-liked. I mean, maybe the Lakers organization aren't crazy about him right now, but that's another story. But, he's such a personable guy, right? He's so well-liked. And he was like that when he played, too. Larry Bird, okay? I'm just going by my personal experiences and some of the people that tell me about him. Not the most personal guy. He's kind of I'm not going to say mean, but he's disgruntled. He doesn't seem like a very happy person, right? Now, back in the day, maybe media members were afraid to talk to you just because of your persona on the court. You were so tough, on the court. But it seems to me like you are more personable now than ever, and I hear that from all the. Well, no, I'm serious.
All you got to do is ask the right questions.
Well, I mean, media members in town, right? Players who have played for you, other coaches, people, they say, God, you are just such a personable guy and such a good dude to talk to. I'm not kissing your ass by saying that. I'm being serious, though. Larry Bird, it seems like he's changed a little bit, and I don't want you don't need to comment on that.
I won't.
But you're very personable, with
That's
the
my
media.
job. As I'm a face of the franchise, I'm a management, so my job is to converse on an intelligent basis, hopefully. When I was a player, it depends on the reporter. The worst thing I always hated was reporter would come up and he would make a narrative. He would say, well, tonight's game, you did this and you did this, and this is how it went, and this is what it did. And they put the microphone in your face. And I would just sit there and go, what's your question? I'm not answering their narrative. They have to ask an intelligent question. They ask a stupid question. I would say, that's the dumbest question
And you
I've
had
ever heard.
regular people in Detroit that you just knew right away they were going to ask you something idiotic. And
Not really, because they knew who I was. They knew if they asked a stupid question. And when a visiting reporter asked a question, our reporters would laugh their ass off because they knew what was coming.
Right. Now, that makes sense. So you would agree, though, with Donald Trump when he says fake news. There is fake news out there.
For the most part. The media has their own narrative.
Right.
It doesn't matter what they'll want to spin. I'm not talking about politics, but in general.
In sport, right, in anything.
And even in sports, they have a story they want to tell. And and Mitch Albom has won multiple zillions of awards for books and everything
Didn't
like that.
Didn't he do a TV show on MSNBC? Yeah, he was all over.
And he was in Detroit, and he grew up with us, and made his name when our championship run, and we got lots of ink. And at the end of the day, he wrote one of the best articles about me. He also wrote one of the worst. And when he wrote one of the worst, it's because he had a narrative that he wanted to write, and the facts didn't fit the narrative. So, It's just who Mitch Albom is, and we fence all the time.
You mentioned traveling in the WNBA, and you mentioned who sits in first class and what you can.
No, we don't sit in first class.
Right, you
They're not
can't
allowed
do
to.
that. Right, I understand. So Charles Barkley, guy who you competed against, obviously, for years, said that today's players are whiners, NBA players, because, they complain about a back-to-back. They're staying in 5-star hotels. They're always in first class, or they have their own planes. And back in the day, you guys, right? You used to take trains for certain times, right? And you didn't have the experiences that these guys have now. They're in the best hotels, the best planes, the best everything. Do you agree that maybe some players today, they whine a little bit too much about?
I'm not going to co-sign on to Charles Barkley's words, but so that's a perfect example of an media trying to put words and put a narrative in front of you.
No, I want your opinion.
No,
I'm just saying that's what he said.
Right. My opinion is travel is very difficult, but the travel today compared to what it was is much different, because now you go to sleep in the bed, you're going to wake up in the morning in the city you're going to play in. Where back then we got to travel first flight out. Rule was first flight out, so 6:30 flights in the morning.
Right.
So it extends the careers of the players by having private aircraft, because they don't wear their bodies out so much. It enhances the game because they get to sleep all day and not have to travel on game day. So they don't know any different. So you can't fault the players today, because this is what it is, and they don't know any different of how it was.
Right.
So they can't make a comparison. So that's what it is.
Do you think it is unfair to compare eras when people say, well, Michael Jordan, best player of all time, and then people talk about LeBron James, and I hear a lot of people saying, I don't necessarily disagree with this, the game was more physical in the 80s. LeBron maybe wouldn't have been able to get to the basket as easily in the 80s as he does today. And I know you're a LeBron guy. I've heard you say a lot of nice things about LeBron, and rightfully so. He's an unbelievable talent. But do you think it's unfair to compare eras? Like, for example, the Pistons back in the day, when you guys won championships, a lot of people think those teams would have beaten the Golden State Warriors of today. Well, how do you answer that type of question?
Every generation thinks they're better than the next, especially being 2 or 3 generations removed like I am. But every generation thinks they're better, but reality says differently. The players are bigger, faster, stronger, but then no question about it. They're more talented. It's a different game. I get it. But the difference is the court has not changed. So when you have bigger, faster, stronger players, the court shrinks. So that's why freedom of movement's a big thing. That's why you don't see the physicality that you used to,
right?
Because there's just no space. Otherwise, it just becomes a slugfest, and it's not made for television. It's not made for fans. So they open the game up. I get it. The game evolves. Adam Silver and I had a conversation about what do you do? Do you expand the court? But reality says you can't, because all the arenas are built for a certain size. So if you can't expand the court, it won't fit in the arena. So you're stuck with what you got right now. Yeah. And it is what it is. And
Does Adam Silver reach out to you and talk to you, or do you reach out to him?
No, it's in a conversation. We're in an event and we're talking, and he has a lot of ideas and he has a lot of thoughts, and we just had a conversation on what I thought, and I says, you can't expand the arenas. It won't work.
See, just what he did there, though, in talking to you, and he reaches out to a lot of former players. Adam Silver seems to be a very respected guy amongst former players and current players. I did hear a lot of criticisms about David Stern. Certainly a lot of people.
David Stern was the czar.
Right.
Adam is the caretaker right now. He's in charge, but he understands, of how to grow the sport. David was in a time where the sport grew itself, and his job was to manage and dominate the sport to make sure that it went along at a measured pace.
Fair enough. Before we let you go, Bill, I want to promote this upcoming season once again, and we can't thank you enough for taking some time to join us. Again, preseason game, Cox Pavilion, May 19th. Okay, so for somebody, well, myself, I had never been to a WNBA game until last year, and I had so much fun. I recommend it to everybody to go to these games. Oh, I'm not just saying that. I say it on the air all the time when you're not here, okay? It is a good product and a great atmosphere, right? But for somebody that has never seen a WNBA game, can you explain it to them and your style as a coach and what fans that are thinking of going to a game can expect perhaps starting May 19th at Cox Pavilion?
I got to remember all those questions. We always say that, well, first and foremost, these are the best women athletes in the world by far. They are very talented. They are very driven. And this is their passion. This is their life. We always say that if you come to a game once, you're coming back. If you don't, hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not for everybody. But if you don't come, then don't trash us. Don't talk bad about us because you haven't seen it. You haven't been there.
Sure.
So
that's fair.
Well, if you come and we'll try, if you're there, we'll retain X amount of percentage of those that come. They'll come back, and that's all we're looking for. We're looking for a fair shake, a fair chance, and our players will sell the game and our in-game presentation of when you're there, how the game is produced and the in-game entertainment and the whole package, as well as the players playing the game. It's a great atmosphere. And it's a fun time, and it's an inexpensive ticket. And it's 115 degrees outside, and it's inside, and it's air conditioned.
That is a key. Well, I got to say this: Las Vegas is very lucky to have you here as the head coach.
And I don't take compliments very well.
But not just from your playing days, but you look at your success. How many, honestly, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, but how many former players that have won championships also are successful at any coaching level, winning championships? You're one of the few.
I don't know. I have to go have my PR guy Jiggy do the research on that one.
I mean, you're one of the few. Let's call it what it is. Let's be honest here. Let's call it what it is. Do you think?
I appreciate that.
Do you think coaching in the NBA today is a little bit overrated? It's obvious. We've talked about
it. Pays well.
It's a players' league, right? But do you think it's over?
I don't know. It's a grind. I mean, it's a full-time year job. The pressures are enormous. It's a lot of hours, and a lot of the stuff is beyond your control because the players can go off and do their own thing. So it's tough, but, like I said, it pays well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Mr. Laimbeer, Coach Laimbeer, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. I cannot wait until the season starts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the time today.
Thank you so much, and appreciate you coming in studio.
All
okay,
right,
we're gonna. Go ahead.
Have a good day.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad I didn't wear my Larry Bird jersey, by the way. That would have been a bad
am too.
move. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.